everyone. Welcome back to Ghostwood, the Twin Peaks podcast. I'm one of your co-hosts, Charles Skaggs, back in Ghostwood Forest. Once again, ready to talk more David Lynch films with my wonderful co-host, wonderful friend, and someone I just talked to yesterday on Next Stop Everywhere, Xan Sprouse. How you doing, Xan?
I'm doing good, Charles. Yeah, we can pretty much talk about anything.
Yeah, but that's one of the things I like about us.
We
we have very diverse tastes. You're very eclectic. Yeah, exactly.
Our nerdy connections know no boundaries.
And so much so that I still learn a ton from you because your interests, we have similar interests, but we each have our own individual interests.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like I'm learning something new. I feel like I'm getting something brand new from this interaction that we have.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like each,
especially when we're just talking about random stuff and something will pop into your head and I'll be like, oh, what's that?
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, nerdy facts are nerdy facts. And, we exchange them and yours are interesting. I'm glad you find mine interesting. So
I always find yours interesting.
We do well with that.
Although sometimes I don't feel like I hold up the interesting end of the bargain, but I try my best.
No, I think you're very interesting. Yeah.
I've got you fooled. All right. Good. All right. So everybody here at episode 91, getting up there, we're going to be talking Wild at Heart and Weird on Top. Yeah. So this is the 1990 romantic crime film written and directed by David Lynch, produced by Steve Golan, Monty Montgomery, yeah, that guy, the cowboy, and I hope I'm pronouncing this right, Sigurjón Sigvatsson, who must be one of the Norwegians. The Norwegians are leaving.
Are leaving.
This is based on the 1989 novel Wild at Heart, the story of Sailor and Lula by Barry Gifford. So, wait a minute, the book came out in 89, but the movie came out in 1990. And that's one of the things I want to talk about when we get to trivia.
Yeah, we need to talk about that.
We do. So, this is something, Xan had mentioned that we should talk about since we talked about Dune last time. Any reason why you wanted to talk about this one next?
We talk a lot about Dune and the grandioseness of it, how it's not David Lynch's usual thing. We talk a lot for the same reason about The Elephant Man. We talk a lot about Blue Velvet because we say it's the sort of proto Twin Peaks.
Okay.
But we don't talk that much about Wild at Heart, even though, and I think we should, because this is a movie that came out the same time Twin Peaks was on.
Mm-hmm.
And it has a lot of Twin Peaks bit players and major players.
Which we'll run down here in a second.
It has that David Lynch feel of there's always more to people than what they seem, and not all of it's very good.
Right.
And
there's a lot of that in this one. Yeah.
Yeah. And it has Laura Dern, who should be in every David Lynch movie, if you ask me.
Yeah, pretty much.
And other people who I think are great for David Lynch, but we don't see much of them in David Lynch things. People like Willem Dafoe.
Right.
And
Diane Ladd.
Why isn't Crispin Glover in more David Lynch movies?
You would think, right? You would think.
I think David Lynch and Crispin Glover have a quirkiness that butt heads a little sometimes. That the quirkiness doesn't always gel with each other. But
they're both artistes, and David Lynch's sensibilities don't quite mesh with Glover's, is what you're saying.
Right, and I feel like, especially after seeing this movie, Crispin Glover would have made a fantastic Johnny Horn.
Yes, he would have. I agree with that.
Just that sort of possibly mentally disabled man-child type character.
Yeah.
He would have made a great Johnny Horn. And since we already had 3 Johnny Horns, why can't Crispin Glover be one of them?
I was just thinking, it's we've had 3. Why not have it go for a 4th, and hey, do another Twin Peaks season 4, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
with Crispin Glover as Johnny Horn. Yeah.
as Johnny Horn. Heck yes,
There you go.
for sure.
Yeah, let's make that happen.
But I feel like this movie, this might be, and it's hard, picking David Lynch movies is a difficult one, but I love this movie. I love, it's problematic, but I think Sailor and Lula have an adorable love story.
Right.
I love all of these disgusting people, all trying to do the same thing. I love all the people that pop up in this movie. I think one of the most tragic death scenes on film is Sherilyn Fenn's
Yes.
death in this movie.
Right.
So she tragic.
She's dying right in front of us, Sailor.
And you cry. You can't not cry watching that one. And I think that there's just this movie, it's very white trash, but it's very David Lynch. I feel like the people in this movie aren't our usual fare. It's like if he made a movie about all the people that know Frank Booth.
Yes.
It would be wild.
So like Frank Booth's side of the family, essentially.
Frank Booth's side of the story is this one. Yeah.
I think that's a great summation.
Thank you.
Because as we know when we talk Blue Velvet, Frank Booth is one of the most unpleasant characters because of just
he's horrible.
being such a horrible sociopath
mm-hmm.
and psychopath that naturally, and it seems like all the people that he knows are just equally horrible.
Yeah.
So it would make perfect sense that so many of these horrible people in this movie would be right there with him. That they would have to be related somehow. And considering, some of these Southern sensibilities, shall we say, that there's a strong possibility they could be related to each other.
And I feel like if anybody can give Frank Booth a run for his money as about being a horrible, horrible, horrible character that you can't stop watching, it's Bobby Peru.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah.
I would say if of all the characters, Bobby Peru is probably the closest to Frank Booth. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He's disgusting. Yep.
But to Frank Booth's credit, at least he didn't blow his face off with a shotgun.
That's true. Yeah, he still essentially has a head.
Yes,
so.
Technically, yeah.
Yeah. And I think this movie, Sailor and Lula are like a total white trash Bonnie and Clyde.
Right.
But they love each other, and I think this is an extremely romantic ending. I love the ending of this movie.
The ending is fantastic. I will give you that.
It's so sweet. Yeah.
That's one of the things I want to talk about in trivia because apparently David Lynch didn't like Barry Gifford's ending in the book. So he's like, screw that, I'm going to do my own ending. And what he came up with, I think it works brilliantly. It's probably one of his, because for one thing, for David Lynch, it's an actual ending, which we rarely get in David Lynch films.
It's an actual,
it's a proper ending.
It's a hopeful ending.
Right.
Which is another thing we don't always see.
Maybe that's why we don't talk about this movie much, because it's, at the end, it's hopeful.
Well, I mean, I would say it's tainted, but the end of Blue Velvet is a little bit hopeful too.
This is true.
Dorothy Valens gets her kid back,
mm-hmm. and
I'm not quite sure what's going to happen with Jeffrey. Does he ever get to go back to college? I don't know, but Dorothy Valens gets her kid back.
Yeah, but I mean, Dorothy. So, he's got Laura Dern's character. So
mm-hmm.
they've hooked up.
Yeah, there's something there, but this one, it looks like it's going to end. So, where he's basically saying, this kid doesn't know who I am. Maybe you should just leave me behind. But then the Good Witch of the North comes.
Right.
And tells him what to do, and he does the right thing. And
after he gets the crap kicked out of him by a bunch of gang guys.
He's got it well. I mean, sometimes it takes getting the crap kicked out of you to have a moment of clarity.
Gangbangers, yeah. Yeah, sometimes. So, you want to run down the cast before we get into our discussion?
Oh, let me pull up my list. All right. So
we can do this like we talked about that we did last time on when we discussed Dune. So we can break it down into like Twin Peaks actors, David Lynch vets, and just other mm-hmm. actors that are only appear in this David Lynch movie.
Yeah. So I'm gonna sort of go through. I'll start with the excellent performers who aren't our usual David Lynch
Okay.
group of people.
All right, we can start with that.
Yeah. So we've got the wonderful Nicolas Cage,
Right.
who gets to put his Elvis impersonation skills to use in this movie.
This is probably the character he was born to play, I would argue.
He was born to play. I think
Maybe this and Raising Arizona.
I was going to say, H.I. McDonough and Sailor.
Those are his two best characters ever, as far as I'm concerned.
The two best characters he's ever played ever, and he's perfect in them. He's pretty good in Peggy Sue Got Married also.
I have not seen that movie.
It's good, and I think after these two, Moonstruck would be his most fitting role. But I think this and Raising Arizona are his absolute best movies.
I agree. This is pure Nick Cage right here. Yes.
Oh, purely Nick Cage in the jacket that represents his individuality and his belief in personal freedom.
There you go. I was waiting for that. So take a drink, everybody.
I just love it. Yeah, it's going to happen again.
Yeah.
This one also has.
Take a look, Sonny. It's going to happen again.
It's going to happen again. Yeah. We got Willem Dafoe, who is, like I said, Bobby Peru is just about the only person in the world who is as bad of a person as Frank Booth is.
Yeah, it's horrible. Yes.
And Willem Dafoe has been in
everything. Yeah.
Everything.
So
everything. He's done everything. He's been Jesus, for God's sake. Okay?
So just from the geek front, he was in Spider-Man. He was the Green Goblin in Spider-Man. He was in Aquaman.
Yeah.
Did the voice of Gil in Finding Nemo. He was in John Carter.
He's in
John Wick. He's in.
Yeah.
So
and
just from a geek standpoint alone.
He's in my favorite Wes Anderson movie, which is The Grand Budapest Hotel.
Yes. Yeah. That's it. I agree. That's my favorite too.
Yeah. And like I said, he was Jesus in the controversial Last Temptation of Christ.
Right.
Willem Dafoe's Jesus. So, I mean, my God. One of my all-time biggest movie crushes.
Right.
Kristen Glover is in this movie. Not for very long, but he's in this movie.
He plays Dell, by the way.
He plays Dell, and like we were saying before, Charles, I think he could be like a Johnny Horn.
Yes.
He would have made a good Johnny Horn because, he plays a good sort of man-child character.
Yeah.
And Crispin Glover, I absolutely adore Crispin Glover. I've seen him live twice. When I met him, I talked his ear off. I probably sounded like a stalker because I knew he had been in Columbus before. He did a movie in the 80s called Teachers, which was filmed at Central High School in Columbus, which is now COSI.
Okay. Yeah.
So I asked him, I said, have you been to Columbus since you were here in 83? And he kind of looked at me like, how the hell did you know that? And I said, when your mom is Nick Nolte, you know where Nick Nolte is if he's in your state. Like this movie was a big deal for us.
Right.
And
so why was he? Where did you meet him at? I'm just kind of curious. At a convention?
No, at the Grandview Theater when it was still being
here
run,
in Columbus. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Still being run by Dave Nedrow. He would do like live shows where he would show one of his films and then he would read some of his poetry and then answer some questions. And it was phenomenal. And he did that twice at the Grandview Theater. And so I was able to go to both of those.
How was his poetry?
Very different. He has 3 or 4 books of them. And I have 3 of them and I can show you some of it. It's
so you liked it enough to get his books. Interesting.
Oh, I have Crispin Glover's record. I love Crispin Glover. Okay. Everything Crispin Glover does, I love. It's very nonlinear. It's very strange. A lot of it is sort of written over other books. It's collage type stuff. It's collage type.
So pretty much what you expect from Crispin Glover.
Well, the thing about Crispin Glover is that he's most famous for 2 things: being in Back to the Future and being on Letterman and almost beating the hell out of David Letterman.
Yeah.
And he told the story when I saw him about that Letterman show, is when he was on Letterman, he was promoting a movie called Reuben and Ed, which is a fantastic movie that is like not in print right now. I think you can watch it on YouTube.
Okay.
If it ever comes, if it comes, I think Shout Factory needs to put it out because it's amazing.
Yeah.
It's one of those quirky early 90s movies that the early 90s was like this golden era of like independent movies, quirky movies. And this is one of them. And Reuben and Ed is a story about two weirdos who wind up getting lost in the desert together. Reuben being Crispin Glover and Ed being Howard Hessman.
Interesting.
And so it's, basically Ed is part of some weird like religion/business cult. And he meets up with Reuben, whose mother is trying to get him to make actual friends in the real world. So they wind up, Ed thinks he's going to get a convert out of Reuben, and Reuben thinks he's going to get his mother to shut up about he finally has a friend.
Okay.
And then quirky craziness ensues. Well, the character that you see with Letterman is Reuben. Like he was being Reuben.
So he was on essentially.
He was playing that character. Yeah. He just thought it would be funny, and he didn't tell Dave about it because he thought the actual reaction would be more interesting.
Okay. So kind of like an Andy Kaufman type move.
Very much like an Andy Kaufman type move.
Interesting.
And Letterman did not find it funny. He said that he came back stage after. He's like, "Hey Dave, sorry." Like, and he's just, because Crispin Glover.
Yeah.
He grew up in the Hollywood. We're going to talk about Chinatown a lot today.
Yes. Which hey, Diane Ladd was in.
Diane Ladd, and also, what's his name? Daryl Swirling, who has a very bit part in this movie, was Hollis Mulwray in Chinatown.
Okay.
So there's two people who were in Chinatown in this movie, and one person whose father was in Chinatown in this movie. And Crispin Glover's father was in Chinatown. Crispin Glover's father was in Diamonds Are Forever.
Right.
So Crispin Glover, his name is Bruce Glover. And so Crispin Glover sort of grew up in this kind of Hollywood system.
Oh, holy crap. I never made that connection.
Yeah, that's Crispin Glover's father.
So that's, is that Mr. Wynn?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
we really need to talk James Bond at one point if you're up for it.
Hey, that would work.
Maybe on a drug cinema, maybe.
That works for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, Crispin Glover grew up in the Hollywood system. So Crispin Glover, he went to, Hollywood High, and, he grew up knowing a lot of people. So he's a very non-traditional type artist. Like when you see his films, like he has one film that stars only actors who have Down syndrome. And he said he did that because not only does he get to employ actors with Down syndrome,
right,
but he said that it makes people extremely uncomfortable, and he wants people to examine why they feel uncomfortable about that kind of thing.
Interesting.
And so his art is very non-traditional. I'll say that.
Yeah, representative of that.
Yeah, but as a man, like if you listen to him in interviews and if you listen to him talk as a person, he's very pragmatic. He will tell you that he takes movies like Charlie's Angels and Back to the Future so he can fund his own projects.
Okay.
So, he I think gets a reputation for being weird because of that Letterman thing.
Yeah.
And it was a decision to promote a character, but he didn't tell anybody about it, so it went off the rails, frankly.
Yeah, right.
But even when I met him, when he was just talking, when he does his own performances and he's performing his poetry, he's very, what's the word I'm trying to think?
Lucid.
He is very nonlinear. He is very non-traditional. He is very different. He is very kind of bizarre. But when you're just talking to him, asking questions, totally normal guy.
Interesting.
Totally normal guy.
Okay. So that's cool.
So then, again, we have Diane Ladd, who plays Marietta.
Marietta Fortune, yeah.
Yeah, who plays Lula's mother, and who in real life is Lula's mother.
Go figure. So, hooray nepotism. Yeah. No, just kidding.
Well, no, Diane
I know.
Ladd is a fantastic
I
actress,
know. I'm just teasing.
and she is Laura Dern's mother. Laura Dern's father
Bruce
is
Dern.
sci-fi royalty Bruce Dern,
Right. From Silent Running,
who
Bruce Dern.
from Silent Running.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And
And
so
also
she,
The Hateful Eight, I believe.
yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
The Quentin Tarantino
Yep.
movie. Yeah, he plays the Confederate general in that one.
Bruce Dern is one of those, like, he's like a Peter Fonda type, a
Yes.
real sort of 60s kind of guy.
A throwback. Yeah.
He's Peter Fonda is like sort of the best way I can think of to describe it.
Yeah.
And
That's a good analogy. A good comparison. Yeah.
so that's who her parents are.
Her parentage, yeah.
Bruce Dern is not in this movie.
Yes, he's not. Yes.
You've got William Morgan Shepherd as Mr. Reindeer,
Yes.
who I feel like
who was in a David Lynch film. He was in The Elephant Man. We talked about that. He's one of those. He was one of the guys at the bar when the porter is trying to round people up.
Oh, was that him?
Yeah, that's him. That's W. Morgan Shepherd. Yeah.
Because I was watching this again and I'm thinking, why do I know him? And it's because he's in the Transformers movies.
Well, he's in everything. He was on Doctor Who as the old Canton Everett Delaware III. And I just watched him, believe it or not, earlier tonight when Lori and I were watching Babylon 5 on HBO Max. He's in the Soul Hunters episode, which is like the third episode of Babylon 5. But he's been in like everything. He was on, obviously, he played Blank Reg on Max Headroom.
My God.
That's where I first got to know him.
Oh my God, it's been so long since I've seen that.
Yeah.
I remember watching his character and thinking,
he's a fantastic actor.
He's a great actor, and his character kind of reminds me of Angelo Badalamenti's character in Mulholland Drive.
Yes. Yeah.
I think they're very similar characters.
They're very, very quiet, deliberate, standoffish, but
like gangsters.
The guy in charge, exactly, a gangster.
Yeah,
essentially,
like gangsters. And then Santos, the hitman who you call when Harry Dean Stanton ain't get the job done, is played by J.E. Freeman.
Mm-hmm.
And when it comes to main cast, that's it for people who haven't been in David Lynch movies.
Yeah.
We've got major David Lynch players like Laura Dern as Lula.
Right.
Isabella Rossellini as Perdita.
Yep.
And of course, Harry Dean Stanton as Johnny Farragut, who Marietta sends after Lula and Sailor when Sailor gets out of jail the first time. Although he's not particularly, he's like, look, he's a free man. He did his time. She's of age. If she went with him willingly, there's not a whole hell of a lot I can do for you. So that's when she has to call in Santos, because Santos is going to get stuff done. We've got...
he gets Johnny done, apparently.
He does. He gets Johnny done.
Takes him off the board.
We have Grace Zabriskie in another wonderful Grace Zabriskie performance as Juana.
Yeah, Juana Durango.
Juana Durango. Sherilyn Fenn, who, like we already talked about, is the girl in the accident who her mother's going to kill her for losing her purse.
Right.
Where's my hairbrush? So it's so tragic.
It's like something sticky in my hair.
There's something sticky in my hair, and it's her back of
brains.
Her head is
her brains, pretty much.
We've got Marvin Kaplan, who plays the disgusting Uncle Pooch. And Marvin Kaplan is Mr. McGonagall in On the Air.
Oh, okay.
So
I didn't catch that one.
Yeah, I'm just running through all the Lynch players because they're all
Freddie Jones plays George Kovich. He's
George Kovich.
That guy doing the has the duck voice, the Donald Duck voice.
He has the weird Donald. Yeah, he's the weird Donald Duck voice, and then of course we've got David Patrick Kelly as Drop Shadow, who works with Reggie, who is played by Calvin Lockhart, who is the electrician in Fire Walk with Me.
Mm-hmm.
And so we've got some other sort of minor players here that I want to bring up. Like I said, very, very small very, very small part. One of the managers of Coco Taylor, who was an actual blues singer who sings at the Zanzibar.
Right.
Her manager is played by
With the
Daryl Swerling.
Zanzibarians, right?
Yeah, the Zanzibarian. Daryl Swerling plays her manager, and he was in Chinatown with Diane Ladd. He played Hollis Mulwray.
Okay.
In Chinatown. So, got a lot of Chinatown connectivity here. So, like I said, we have Calvin Lockhart as Reggie, and then at the very end of this movie, we see a guy in a wheelchair, played by Nick Love, who is the guy that plays Malcolm Sloan in Twin Peaks. He's the Evelyn Marsh's brother during the James Hurley saga.
Okay, I missed that connection too.
And then at one of the hotels, we see the desk clerk is played by Ed Wright, who is our old favorite Del Nibbler. Twin Peaks.
Right.
One of the dancers at the reindeer is played by Lisa Ann Cabasa, who plays Jenny in Twin Peaks. Jenny is who Audrey gets Blackie's phone number from after she lost it after she talked to Emery Battis.
Oh.
She's that person.
Nice.
And then we have Frank Collison, who plays Timmy, and he's Muddy in Twin Peaks: The Return, one of the guys who's there during the infamous arm wrestling scene.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
One of the guys in the background.
Yeah.
In the crowd. Yeah.
Yeah. An actress named Charlie Spradling plays Irma, and she's Swabby, one of Blackie's ladies of the night.
Okay.
And then there's the actor who plays Rex is somebody named Eddie Dixon, who has been in some David Lynch short films. And of course, let's not forget that this is a David Lynch movie. And of course, so Jack Nance is in this movie.
Yes. As Double O Spool.
Yes, Double O Spool. And there are, I don't know if you watched this.
It was very unpleasant as well. Yes.
Yeah. A couple of years ago, Shout Factory put out this on Blu-ray, finally.
Right.
So the Blu-ray, I don't know if you watched these, Charles, but the Blu-ray had some deleted scenes.
Yep.
And there's a deleted scene featuring Tracy Walter, who is one of the greatest character actors in the history of character actors. Most famously that we discussed, he's Bob in Batman 1989.
Right.
But he also plays Blinky Watts on the Air.
Yeah.
So
see, I got to know him from playing Frog on Best of the West.
Yeah. I think the first time I ever really noticed who he was Batman 1989, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, that guy is in freaking everything.
Yeah.
You know, he's in Repo Man, which we should also do on Drunk Cinema.
Yeah, we should do that.
But yeah, even the deleted scenes are filled with David Lynch players. And like I said, because this movie was made around the time of Twin Peaks, I think David Lynch was like, you know, he's like, hey, Charlie, you want to be in this movie?
Right.
Just, yeah, there's
he probably like made a bunch of phone calls and like, oh, you got some time to do this scene or whatever. And if they were available, they're in the movie. If they weren't available, they're not in the movie.
I forgot all about this. I left out Frances Bay as the madam.
Yep, I was just gonna mention her. Yep.
And of course, Cheryl Lee as the Good Witch, who tells Sailor, hey, if she basically, you know, spoilers, she basically tells Sailor that if Lula can forgive you for killing her father, I think that's true love.
Yeah. Don't turn away from love, Sailor.
Don't turn away from love, Sailor.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we got a lot of
Cheryl Lee doing her incredible baby doll voice that she kind of did as Laura every so often. Yeah.
Perfect voice. I don't know, Charles, did you watch Bird Box? The movie Bird Box?
No. I mean, I know of it, but I have not seen it.
Yeah.
With Sandra Bullock, right?
Right, and Pruitt Taylor Vince.
Yeah.
So I feel like we should mention one of his more recent things, Pruitt Taylor Vince, who is in one of my all-time favorite movies, Angel Heart. But he's also pretty well known for being in True Blood and Deadwood.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know,
those I've seen.
On Showtime, actually. He's very famous for being on Showtime.
Right.
So.
Okay.
So. Am I getting in my cast?
No, I think I was going to bring up Francis Bay, but you got it. You kind of
Yep.
you went back and you caught that one. But I think that's
Yep.
it. Yeah, I think that's everything I've got. All right. So this movie, 2 hours 4 minutes, not that long compared to some. Diane Ladd received an Oscar nomination for Best Supporting Actress for this
Heck
movie,
yeah.
but of course she lost to Whoopi Goldberg in Ghost.
Also good.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's kind of hard to be upset about that one, really. And of course, this is a score by Angelo Badalamenti. So I thought that was, obviously very fitting. And this apparently was a sort of success because this one actually made money, unlike Dune. It grossed $14.6 million from a $10 million budget. And in the summer of 1989, this movie was done after David Lynch had filmed the pilot episode for Twin Peaks. So essentially, this was filmed between the pilot and the actual series.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So apparently, independent production company Propaganda Films, they commissioned Lynch to develop an updated noir screenplay based on a 1940s crime novel, but Monty Montgomery, the cowboy, who was a friend of Lynch's and associate producer on Twin Peaks, asked Barry Gifford, the novelist, like I said, this book is based on, what he was working on. And Gifford said, well, I'm working on this manuscript for Wild at Heart, the story of Sailor and Lula, but I've got like 2 more chapters to write. So the book wasn't even finished yet.
Right.
But he let Monty Montgomery read it in a pre-published galley form while the producer was working on the pilot episode for Twin Peaks, while Lynch was working on that. So Montgomery read it, and 2 days later he called Gifford and said, okay, I want to make a film of this. And then 2 days after that, Montgomery gave Gifford's book to Lynch while he was editing the pilot and asked him if he would be an executive producer on a film adaptation and would he like to direct. And Lynch said, well, okay, let me read the book. Montgomery didn't think he would like it. Kind of like Dune, right? And but he ended up loving it, and he's like, okay, so he calls Barry Gifford, and he asked him if he could do the film, make a film of it. And Lynch was apparently drawn to what he saw as, quote, a really modern romance in a violent world, a picture about finding love in hell, unquote. So
I can see that.
That's how he views it, this one. So essentially, he's like seeing this, this flame of love inside hell, I guess, which is probably why you see in this movie, you see a lot of fire imagery, flames,
a lot of fire imagery, a lot of
dudes getting set on fire. You get Sailor lighting up a cigarette, everything.
And if Diane Ladd with lipstick all over her face doesn't look like the devil, I don't know what does.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I talked about how Lynch didn't like the original ending for the novel, where Sailor and Lula actually split up for good.
I know, it's not right. It's not what needs to happen.
Yeah, so he's like, okay, screw that. I'm going to change this. And then, of course, he added new characters like Mr. Reindeer and Sherilyn Fenn's character, excuse me. The victim of the car accident.
Right.
And then apparently at one point, Nick Cage, this is pretty well known, that he called David Lynch and asked if he could wear a snakeskin jacket in the movie. And Lynch said, okay, and I'll put it in the script. And he put it in the script.
As well he should have.
As well as he should have.
Yeah, that's a fantastic addition to that character because Sailor does believe in individuality and personal freedom.
Take a drink, everybody. So there you go.
Yeah, take a drink. There it is.
Okay, originally, this movie was going to feature more explicit erotic scenes between Sailor and Lula. In one, she had an orgasm while relating to Sailor a dream she had of being ripped open by a wild animal.
Well, that probably would be a trip because it'd be your last one.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. And then another deleted scene had Lula lowering herself onto Sailor's face, saying, "Take a bite of Lula." So,
yeah,
probably a good call to get rid of those, right?
Yeah, and I
Because there's enough going on in this movie already.
yeah, and personally, I really like the the visual of Lula's orgasms being her hand. You know, her hand just
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Clenching up and
So
tightening, and yeah.
yeah, so like when she's with Bobby Peru, you know it happens, and she feels horrible about it. So I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I like that. I like that visual being our key to Lula.
Yeah. Now, early test screenings for the movie didn't go well. Surprise. With the strong
Oh,
violence in some scenes being too much for people.
and I'm trying to figure out what was it that changed us as a movie going public.
Right.
And my thought is, I think things just changed with Pulp Fiction.
Well, not just Pulp Fiction, but other things too. Yeah.
But I
Like
feel like
David Lynch films, probably.
David Lynch films a little bit, but like I said, I feel like
Tarantino movies, definitely.
Yeah, Pulp Fiction was this marker in the history of film when we were like, all of a sudden, a little bit more as a general audience,
Yeah.
general culture and audience, we were more okay with anti-heroes,
yeah.
liking characters who are disgusting romances, things like that. Because it's, you know, if you watch this movie is so much better than something like Natural Born Killers, but Natural Born Killers was a huge success.
Yes.
And so I'm just,
we were, it was the 90s. It was the 90s. We were in our grunge phase. So,
you know, and it's, I've heard a lot of things about
the Robert Rodriguez movies were, you know, after Tarantino, Robert Rodriguez made a scene with things like Desperado
and even
things
like OJ, where we were on the news every day for a year, was this incredibly violent story that just became background noise. And I heard something interesting about the OJ trial and how it affected pop culture. The musical Chicago did not do very well when it first came out. I mean, it was okay, but it wasn't a hugely popular musical, and it didn't stay on Broadway for a terribly long amount of time. And then when it had its revival in like 96, I think it was 95 or 96.
Yeah.
It was much more successful. And the theory behind that was that after the OJ trial, people believed much more, they had a better time believing that you could get away with murder and still be like a popular hero, which is what happens in the musical Chicago.
Okay.
But at the time in the 70s when it first premiered, it was like, what? This is ridiculous. This would never happen. But after the OJ trial,
it's much more credible. Yeah.
It was much more credible. People were willing to believe that this woman could kill her husband and get away with it and become this folk hero.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So we became a nation of cynics, really.
A nation of cynics and a nation of people who just don't get shocked as quickly as we used to about violent things.
We're numb to it now.
We're a little more numb.
Look how fast. We rebound after school shootings, for crying out loud, as a nation.
And there's so many of them, and now it's just sort of like, okay, this is what we do.
Yeah.
It's how we deal with it. You know, it's very.
You get numb to it.
Yeah, you have to, otherwise you couldn't move.
Right.
You know.
You're either paralyzed, or you try to accept it and move on.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, I actually did a project in college about Pulp Fiction and how it changed us as audiences, because, and what I did is I borrowed my friend Shelley's copy of the script, and I read the scene where Marvin gets shot in the face.
Right.
And everybody's laughing in the class. And I'm like, this is how we're different now. This is not something we used to be able to see. So I don't know what happened in those 4 years that we go from Wild at Heart, you know, being seen as too violent or too disgusting or too unsavory, to having Pulp Fiction be up for an Oscar.
Well, you know what I think what it was? I mean, part of it was because the violence in Pulp Fiction, and this is just my opinion, The violence in Pulp Fiction is offset by dark humor. Like it's very tongue in cheek. Like
it is very tongue in cheek.
Like even though when the gun goes off in the car in Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, Marvin gets shot.
Marvin gets shot.
Marvin in the face.
Exactly. And then there's this whole comedy of errors that follows with, okay, well, how do we get rid of this body?
Yeah. And but I feel like, well, I guess it all goes back to the fact that nobody understands David Lynch's sense of humor.
Yeah.
Because I feel like this one also has dark comedy in it as well. And a love story that I think that you're really, really rooting for, even though we find out that no matter how much Sailor loves Lula, he is the one that killed her father.
Right.
So it's almost like you don't know why you're rooting for these people.
Well, he was there. Yeah.
He was there, but he was part of the group that killed his father. Killed her father. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, he was doing some work for Santos. And
yeah, which is how he's filled with secrets.
Right, exactly. That's very nice, very nicely done, by the way.
If Lula's willing to forgive him everything, then he needs to give her a chance.
Yeah.
But
so after the first test screening of this, 80 people walked out because of the graphic torture scene involving Johnny Farragut. And apparently it was really bad. Lynch didn't want to cut anything. So they had a second test screening, and 100 people walked out of that one. So at that point, that's 20 plus more people, right? So he's like, okay, he agreed to tone it down, and because he looked at it, he's like, okay, this is killing the film. So he agreed to do changes and cut it.
Well,
he only did that for the domestic audience because apparently, this movie. This was done, this was before the NC-17 rating. So if they hadn't, the MPAA, the Motion Picture Association of America, said, we're going to give this an X rating.
And an X rating...
Which was the kiss of death for a movie back then.
Kiss of death for a movie, because an X rating didn't necessarily mean porn,
right.
But a lot of times it was thought of as porn.
Yeah.
Because porn is triple X.
Yes.
But an X rating, like some famous movies that got X ratings were Midnight Cowboy, Clockwork Orange, things like that. Which, yes, there's boobies in Clockwork Orange, and yes, there's male prostitutes in Midnight Cowboy.
Today it would get an R, by the way.
It's not about the sex. It's about the
violence. Yeah.
Also X rated was Caligula. That's pretty much porn.
Yes.
Historical.
Yeah.
So a lot of movies that did get X ratings what was that? What was that one movie in the 90s that got an X rating? Was it Henry and June?
I can't remember.
Did that one get an X rating?
I was too busy watching Twin Peaks. I can't remember. No.
Yeah, that was it.
That's all right. But apparently this is only in North America. Well, Zan's looking this up because, the foreign audiences, they're okay with it. So Lynch also made a change to the scene where Bobby Peru accidentally shoots his own head off with a shotgun, when he stumbles.
Henry and June is an X rating.
Is that it?
It's one of, actually it was technically an NC-17. I think it became having an NC-17.
Is that the first one with NC-17?
This year might have been what did NC-17.
Okay.
It was nominated for Oscars. There's only 3 NC-17 movies to receive Oscar nominations. Henry and June, Wild at Heart, and Requiem for a Dream.
Interesting.
Very good. But yeah, X ratings, there are theaters that would not play X-rated movies. And I want to say to this day, AMC theaters will not play NC-17 movies.
Yeah, I can't remember seeing one over there.
So if you get an NC-17 rating, that just basically means your mainstream audience has been cut.
Right. You might as well kiss your box office goodbye. Yeah.
Yeah. Tremendously.
Yeah. This movie also features the Chris Isaak song "Wicked Game," for which David Lynch did a music video. He directed the music video of that.
Doesn't this one also have blue Spanish eyes?
No, I don't know. I don't think so, but I could be wrong. I don't remember hearing that.
Well, Charles, we just got to go upstairs and get the soundtrack and
All
tell
right.
me.
Well, okay. It might be on the soundtrack, but maybe it wasn't in the film.
It could have been one of those. Yeah, it could
Yeah,
have
because
been.
you know what I'm talking about. That sometimes they add stuff that's not in the film.
Yeah, or it could have been in a deleted scene, but just stayed on the soundtrack, that kind of
Right.
thing.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to figure out why I think that.
I mean, it's not the same Chris Isaak album
Yeah, it is.
that Wicked Game is on.
Blue Spanish Sky, right
Yep.
there.
Okay. So it's on the soundtrack at least.
Yep.
Yeah, I can't remember it in the movie though, unless it was like really quiet.
It's in the background somewhere in one of the CD bars they go into. I just forget which one.
Okay. I'll take your word for it. So that's all I got for trivia. It's a lot.
Well, that's pretty good trivia.
Yeah, I thought so. I was trying to get the really good stuff. So, okay, so
yeah, the only other thing I was going to mention,
mm-hmm.
the only other thing I was going to mention about trivia about this movie is that the 1997 movie Dance with the Devil, starring Javier Bardem and Rosie Perez, is the original title was Perdita Durango, and it was based on another novel.
Yeah, there's like 6 of those novels, apparently.
Yeah, another novel by Barry Gifford about the Perdita Durango character that is played by Isabella Rossellini in this movie.
Right.
So that was the only other thing I was going to mention about trivia.
Yeah, so it's a good one because it's another book in the series, only in a separate film, but but there are related characters in that, so it's almost like a universe, a book universe.
This is the weirdest cover to the soundtrack because when does Lula wear this outfit?
Literally never. Hold on, there's a little bit of glare. You have to turn it kind of angled. There we go. Okay. Yeah, exactly.
She never wears this outfit. So yeah, this is an excellent soundtrack.
What else is on that?
Nicolas Cage singing both "Love Me" and "Love Me Tender."
Right.
So it's totally worth it for that.
Yeah. Everybody kind of considers that song "Treat Me Like a Fool," but that's the subtitle.
No, the name of the song is called "Love Me."
It's called "Love Me" because yeah.
And like you mentioned, Wicked Game, Blue Spanish Sky,
right?
Perdita by River City, and of course, Slaughterhouse by Power Mad.
Nice.
You got to have that one. And this also has a cool catwalk.
Right, by Julie Cruz.
No, this is the instrumental. The Angelo Badalamenti and wound up on Julie Cruz's record.
Yeah.
With lyrics.
Yeah, it's on her second album.
Yeah, that red one with the mashed potato head.
Yeah, exactly. The mashed potato. The one that looks like something designed by David Lynch. Yes, exactly.
Which it is.
It is? It is designed by David Lynch? That makes sense.
Yep. And then there's pieces by Angelo on this, and then Up in Flames by the great Coco Taylor, who is in this movie as well. So.
Okay. Interesting. Well, we've talked like 45 minutes, and we just scratched the surface of this. We haven't even discussed the actual plot yet.
Oh, white trash girl has terrible upbringing. Yeah. White trash boy becomes a criminal. He helps kill her dad. They meet later. They fall in love.
Yep.
Calamity ensues.
They basically F their way across the entire country.
Yep.
And wackiness ensues. Yes.
And her mother is not
tons
happy.
of Wizard of Oz references. That's the plot.
Lots of Wizard of Oz. I absolutely adore the scene where they're driving at night and she looks out and she sees Diane Ladd as the Wicked Witch following them.
Right. Kind of like with Dorothy, seeing her
Mrs. Gulch on her
Mrs.
bike.
Gulch, turning into the Wicked Witch. Yeah, in the tornado.
Yep.
Yes. In the twister.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Aw.
What?
Sorry, Cicely Tyson died.
Aw.
I just looked at my phone and Cicely Tyson died. So it's been a sad week.
Yeah, it has. I mean, we're going to talk more on Drunk Cinema about why it was a sad week.
We're going to talk more on Drunk Cinema
in our next episode, but we'll let you know. But more about that later.
Because the thing is, Marietta is, if you think, Laura Palmer's mother is crazy,
right? You
Oh
think
man,
Sarah Palmer is the word?
you think Sarah Palmer is the craziest mom you've ever seen? Oh goodness, no,
Yes. Yeah.
no.
So Marietta basically goes completely cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs in this one.
Yeah, because say what you want to about Sarah Palmer, she never tried to have sex with Bobby or James,
Right.
and I can't say the same for Marietta.
Well, apparently the frog bug or whatever inside her, the frog
Yeah,
moth, wasn't up for
frog.
that.
Yeah,
The frog moth. That's it.
yeah, that's the thing. Because Marietta has all kinds of gentleman friends who are unsavory people.
Yeah.
You know, she's telling Johnny she's in love with him, but she's two-timing him sexually and professionally
Yeah.
with Santos. She knows Santos is who killed her husband.
Right. Well, I see the vibe I got though. I thought that she wanted Santos to kill her husband.
Yeah, she did. She
Okay.
wanted her, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So she knows that, but she's still, I mean,
And then
I don't
apparently
know.
because Sailor worked for Santos, he was
Mm,
there.
right. He was there and she knows it. And so that's half of why I think she wants Sailor to stay away from Lula, because I don't think she wants, Lula really loved her father.
You think she's afraid of the truth coming out?
She's afraid of the truth coming out, and part of her wants Sailor for herself.
Well, there is that because there's that
Yeah.
great opening. One of the early opening scenes is that she's like drunk off her ass and goes.
Lula's mama.
Yeah, exactly. And so she goes into the men's room as Sailor's taking a whiz and confronts him right there at the urinal.
Do you want to F Lula's mama? Yeah, it's
Yeah, basically.
gross.
Yeah.
It's really, really,
Right.
and obviously,
And then like, she end up going into a bathroom stall. She like
mhm.
leads him to the bathroom stall. So we
and
figure, well, they're going to have bathroom sex, right?
and they do not,
They do not because they
so,
basically get into an argument.
because Sailor loves Lula,
Right.
and as the reason, and that's
Although
the
I have
nice
no
Sailor.
idea because Sailor, obviously he's the king of bad decisions. I have no idea why he went into that bathroom stall in the first place.
Um, I guess to have a private conversation.
I know. That's
No.
like, how are you going to have a private conversation? Because you can always hear.
Yeah,
Anyway.
seriously. So here's the thing though about Sailor is that the night that this happens is the night that Sailor kills somebody and has to go to jail. That's why he's in jail the first.
Yeah, because Marietta hires this guy,
Mm-hmm.
Bob Ray Lemon,
Yep.
to basically shank him with a switchblade.
Mm-hmm. And so Lula sees it, says Sailor, he's got a knife, and then
Yeah.
Sailor just whacks his head into every marble surface in the theater.
Yeah, he doesn't just beat the guy up or knock him out. He just he pummels him literally to death on
He
everything.
beats this guy to death with his bare hands.
Like he takes him right
Those
into the
hands,
railing of a staircase, and
and then under the stairs. Yeah.
Yeah.
Those hands that are probably all over my baby right now.
Yes, exactly. Manslaughter.
Yeah. So,
I just love the way Nick Cage says manslaughter.
manslaughter.
Doing
Yeah.
it in the Elvis voice. It's hilarious.
Because he only does 22 months for
Yeah.
this.
Yeah, I was like, well, that's not
So,
that bad for manslaughter.
That's for killing something? Yeah, and it's...
Now, keep in mind it
I
was like
think,
Georgia or something, right?
oh, I'm sure there's some sort of disgusting racist element to it as well.
Well,
but
for one thing, he killed the black guy, so he probably got off light because of that.
in
Being
the
in the South, yes,
yeah,
probably.
the South.
I'm surprised he even got jail time personally.
To quote Dave Chappelle,
Yeah.
have you ever been to the South? Oh, the racism down there, magnifique. So yes, the South is extremely, extremely racist.
I lived in Florida for a couple years, and which is why I'm back in Ohio now.
Yeah.
So yeah. Needless to say.
Yeah, and Florida is its own brand of woohoo craziness. But anyway.
Yeah, that's a whole different. I could spend a whole another podcast on that one.
So Sailor kills this guy, and I think he probably only got 22 months because this guy probably had a criminal record and he was trying to kill Sailor.
Right, it was self-defense.
It was very much, it was overzealous self-defense.
It's like, it was self-defense plus, you know?
Yeah. It was self-defense and about
Change.
10.
And change, yeah.
And accidental change. It's you gave $10 worth of self-defense, but you got change for a 50.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
So that's why Sailor goes to jail in the first place. And
in the PD Correctional Facility.
The Maricopa County State Correctional Facility for Men, State Road number 2510 in Arizona. I'll be waiting.
Nice.
Yeah, all the best movies with Nicolas Cage are him either not having a hand or being in prison. Anyway,
The Rock.
Yeah, I suppose. But anyway, so and again, I think the reason why he gets so crazy is because Lula's there and he's talking about Lula's mama and Lula's father, and he doesn't want Lula to find the truth.
Yeah.
So that's why that happens.
Yeah. So like 22 minutes later, despite Marietta telling her that she should never see Sailor again, Lula apparently runs off to reunite after he gets out of the joint.
Right. She's there to pick him up.
She picks him up, gives him his snakeskin jacket.
Oh, my snakeskin jacket! He's so excited to have that back. She picks him up. They go on a road trip. They get a hotel room. They go see Power Mad.
Yeah.
And
after lots and lots of sex. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. So we have sex and then we celebrate with speed metal dancing.
And I love how the speed metal band knows how to play "Love Me" by Elvis Presley.
Right. That's the most hilarious thing about that scene. Well, there's two hilarious things. There's the part where the guy tries to put the moves on Lula.
You just tried on the wrong girl.
Yeah, pretty much. And so Sailor, punches him and then says, "No, now apologize."
Yeah.
I want you to apologize to my girl.
I want you to get a manual. Anyway, but yeah, I love that this band.
But they just stop, like right in the middle. When Sailor says cut the music, he points and they cut the music.
And they just do it. Yeah.
And they just do it. And then, and then afterwards, after he has the guy apologize and the guy wimps and, walks away in a real wimpish way, he's like, he gestures to the band or something and they start playing, they start doing "Love Me."
Right. And I love that there's this speed metal band.
Yeah.
With one of them's wearing a Guar t-shirt.
Right.
But they have this wonderfully gentle, great version of "Love Me" by Elvis Presley. It's awesome.
Well, that's when they do wedding receptions. That's what they sing, probably.
I just would like to make this clear. Power Mad is an actual band.
Right.
They're an actual speed metal band. They're from Minneapolis. So they're a real thing.
So that's cool. So Lula then, this is where something that pays off at the very end of the film, where she asks Sailor why he never sings "Love Me Tender" to her.
Because he's only going to sing that to his wife.
Right.
Foreshadowing.
Pretty much, yeah. So again, this is probably like one of the most coherent storylines that David Lynch has ever told.
Yeah, and because of that, when she says, you've always told me it's your favorite song, why did you sing it to me, blah, 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 he says, I'll only ever sing that to my wife. And then at the end, when he does, I'm crying. I'm like, yay! Right. I'm so happy for Sailor Lula.
And Pace is there, looking up at it.
Little Pace with his little mullet.
His little smile. Mullet. He's like,
it's so cute.
Yeah. So Marietta, not happy by this point.
No, she's not happy.
So she gets Johnny, her private investigator and part-time boyfriend, Johnny Farragut, this is Harry Dean Stanton's character, to find Lula, bring her home. But Johnny kind of doesn't succeed at his job. He basically he follows them from hotel to hotel.
But he just knows where they are. Yeah.
Right. Until he ends up in New Orleans, which is a big mistake.
there's a great deleted scene
Yeah.
where he sees them. He's at the Café du Monde. He's eating a beignet, obviously.
Right.
And he sees them, and he just sort of raises his coffee cup and toasts them. He's like, "Ain't love grand, kids." Like he's kind of happy. And he's kind of happy that these two weirdo kids found each other, because I think he probably knows that Marietta, I mean, aside from the fact that she, kicks the crap out of Uncle Pooch when she comes home and finds that Uncle Pooch has raped Lula.
Yeah.
Aside from beating the crap out of him, I don't think she's much of a mom. And Johnny knows that. So I think Johnny's just, happy that, he knows Lula's had a hard time of it. He knows Sailor.
So he's rooting for Lula is what yeah.
I think he's rooting for the two of them. Yeah.
Interesting.
And I think he wants Lula to be happy. And he knows that,
probably she needs to get away from her mom. She'd be a lot happier if she got away from her
Marietta,
mom.
And Marietta is going to be better off if she lets go and lets Lula grow up.
Yeah.
Probably.
Right. So like Lula says, maybe she loves me a little too much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
Possessive.
Yeah, pretty much. I wouldn't know a thing about that with my mom. Yeah. So the
really, your mom's kind of older and you're an only child. I wonder, I've never heard of that before.
Right. Yeah. So with Johnny kind of failing on the job, Marietta turns to Marcella Santos, who's another of her boyfriends and also a horrible, horrible person.
And who is the guy that she hired to kill her husband.
Yeah. So he says, so they go through the whole thing of, okay, I want you to kill Sailor. And Santos arranges it. This is where he does that whole like silver dollar thing with Mr. Reindeer. And apparently they got a whole system, like if you present a silver dollar with the details, Mr. Reindeer will make that happen. So essentially, Mr. Reindeer is the middleman, that the go-between between the client and the assassin.
I feel like Mr. Reindeer is doing this for way too cheap.
Right?
The silver dollar. I mean, you should be getting paid more than a silver dollar, Mr. Reindeer.
Well, no. I think the silver dollar is just like there's money, but the money is left in anonymous.
I'm making a joke.
Oh, okay. All right.
Making a joke, Charles.
Okay. I wasn't sure. It's 9:00 at night. No, I've had a long day, so you have to bear with me.
I'm sure that he gets paid more than a silver dollar.
I would hope so. Yeah.
Yes.
But I thought just apparently that's just like the it's supposed to represent the transaction. So
it's sort of the coin of it's the coin of the realm, essentially.
Yeah.
That you have to. It's your
golden ticket.
What's a good example? It's your
golden ticket.
It's your other half of the Jell-O box, I guess. Do you know that story?
No.
About the Rosenbergs, that when they were meeting up with people, somebody had cut a part of a Jell-O box and gave them both halves, and when they met the other person, that's how they knew they met their contact.
Oh, I didn't know that. Interesting.
Yeah,
I learned something. I learned something today, kids.
I'll have to look that one up.
Yeah, that's interesting. That sounds interesting. So so Santos gets a hold of Mr. Reindeer. Mr. Reindeer gets a hold of his crew, including Joanna. That's Grace Zabriskie's character, Reggie, and Drop Shadow. So
who is so great. He's David Patrick Kelly, and he's so fantastic.
I think I'm high.
That's the one.
Yeah. You didn't think I was going to let that slide, did you?
I was glad you didn't.
Yeah.
Frankly.
All right. So they basically the hit's on. Oh, okay. There's a link there. Okay, I'll have to check that out later.
Yeah, check that out later.
I'll check that out. Obviously, we're a little busy right now with the podcast, so I'm gonna.
Yeah, I just didn't want to forget.
No, I'm glad you did. So thanks for the link. So, but Marietta. So now that she sent these events in motion, she has a crisis of conscience, and she tries to set out. She goes to Johnny because she's worried that something's going to happen to Johnny. Marcelo Santos keeps hinting that he's going to take Johnny off the board.
And even Johnny was like, you didn't bring Santos in on this, did you? Like, Johnny knows that Santos
Right.
is bad freaking news.
Yeah.
You know?
So there's a lot going on here. So
Yeah.
So Sailor,
really shady players on the board right now.
yeah, and Sailor kind of like gets a little senses a disturbance in the force. So he goes to
Sailor's worked for these people before. He knows
Right.
their MO. You know?
Right. So he essentially they leave North Carolina. They go to they head to California, but they first stop in New Orleans, and then they go on the road again, and then they end up in Big Tuna. Oh, I'm sorry. No, this is I'm trying to keep the timeline straight. So does he go like after getting a wind of this? Do you think that he goes to Perdita at this point, or is that later?
That's when he goes. That's when he gets with Perdita.
Yeah. So Perdita, because apparently they knew each other back in the day, supposedly, and they made some deal that okay, I'll tell you if there's a hit out on you, and then you tell me if there's a hit out on me.
Exactly. They have this deal that if they ever got word of each other's demise, they would give each other. Yeah. Mm-hmm. They would give each other the heads up.
Yeah.
And it almost looks like, she lives in the apartment that Laura Palmer lives in at the end of The Return.
Yes. I was just thinking
it's a very seedy looking joint.
Yeah, that's what's her name's? Cassie. Shoot, I'm blanking on Carrie Page's.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Carrie Page. That's it.
Yeah.
Thank you. Page. Yeah, that does look like Carrie Page's house a lot.
Probably has a rotting dead guy in it too. I don't know. I didn't see the inside.
Right. Maybe it's killed by Santos. Who knows? So apparently, was it Marietta ends up getting with Johnny in New Orleans. And when Johnny asks if Santos is involved, she denies it. But
bad plan.
But they were gonna go up to the room and they were apparently gonna have sex. But Johnny has to stop by his room. And when he goes to his room, he gets basically kidnapped by the hit squad.
Yeah. Because yes, Santos is involved.
Yeah. And they take him and they torture the crap out of him and do like freaky get off on it a little bit between Joanna and
stuck in the middle with you kind of stuff.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. It does get a little bit Reservoir Dogs. Yes.
Mm-hmm. And I gotta say, Charles.
Yeah.
I think in real life, Diane Ladd and Harry Dean Stanton would have made an adorable couple.
Right? I am totally
about the two of them that I think is just adorable.
They make
together.
a cute couple. I agree.
They make a cute couple. Yes, they do.
Yeah. I mean, if it wasn't for Diane Ladd being batshit crazy, at least in this movie.
Yeah, he'd be a much better.
I don't know how she is in real life, but yeah.
She's Diane Ladd is a very
I'm just teasing, by the way.
No. You bring something up that's interesting.
Yeah.
Diane Ladd was on the TV show Celebrity Ghost Stories.
Right.
So she says she was haunted by the ghost of Martha Mitchell after Martha Mitchell passed away.
Really?
Yeah, Martha Mitchell, who was the wife of John Mitchell, part of the Watergate.
Oh, right.
She was very outspoken about how much she did not approve of the government and what they were doing and stuff like that. So she was like kidnapped.
Right.
And kept against her will to get her to shut up. And, Diane Ladd found out about this and was appalled. And she says that Martha Mitchell came to her in a dream and asked her to, help tell her story.
Interesting.
So, Diane Ladd's had some interesting stuff going on.
Yeah, seriously, right? That's interesting. So on the way, trying to go out to California, they end up, this is where they come across the car accident. They're driving at night. And Lynch does his trademark driving at night headlights on the road.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the David Lynch headlights on the road, one of my favorites ever.
Yeah, one of his favorite go-tos
mm-hmm.
as far as imagery. And so this is where they they see the wreck, they pull over, and they check out to see what's happened, and then all of a sudden, Sherilyn Fenn comes stumbling out off screen into a shot, and she's all like bloody and kind of just rambling a little bit, kind of like me right now, and
No, much worse.
yeah, but apparently, like Lula says, she's dying right in front of us. It's very tragic. Very tragic.
She does die right in front of them. It's horrible.
Yeah.
And Sherilyn Fenn, oh my gosh, Sherilyn Fenn does. I cannot say enough how wonderful of a performance she gives in this.
Right.
She's so perfect. She's so tragic. Just she rips her heart out through your nostrils. Yeah. It's very impressive.
And obviously, David Lynch got to know her from the Twin Peaks pilot, so he probably thought she would be great for this scene. And sure enough, she was. So she dies right there. Sailor says, "Okay, well, we can't really do anything. Let's just go." So they get back in the car, and it's almost kind of a loss of innocence moment, because up until this point,
they've just been having a good time.
Yeah, Lula has essentially been this kind of, very Marilyn Monroe-esque innocence.
And what Lula's like just now 18, just now 19, something like that.
Yeah. So, but she's constantly, as she puts it, hotter than Georgia asphalt.
Hotter than Georgia. I love that quote.
Yeah.
And this up until now, they've just been going in and out of hotels.
Right.
Sex, glad to see each other.
Yeah.
Listening to their favorite band.
She was the type that would get upset because the car radio had news on that she didn't like. Yeah. And there's this moment. Yeah, she's like, she gets out of the car and she's like, Sailor, you get some music on that radio right now, or I will just lose my mind.
Lose my mind. Yeah.
Yeah.
So she, and I don't think, I think.
So this is a big moment for her.
It's a big moment for her, and I think that Sailor knows that
it's like a come to reality.
Sailor knows that Marietta is going to cause problems.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they both know that, but I think Sailor knows that there might be more problems than Lula knows there's going to be.
Right.
Like, Lula knows, oh yeah, my mom's probably sending Johnny after us, blah, 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 blah. But Sailor probably knows, like, yeah, if Johnny's coming, then probably Santos isn't far behind. Like, I think Sailor knows more about there's imminent danger than Lula realizes. So Lula's just sort of happily on a road trip with her boyfriend, hoping her mom doesn't find out. And even if her mom did find out, what's the worst that could happen? She's like Johnny says, she's of age. She went with him willingly. There's nothing that can happen.
Legally, anyway.
But then, legally. But then this accident happens where she watches someone die right in front of her, and it gets
her to stop and think a little bit.
And it's not soon after that she's in the hotel room by herself and throws up because she's pregnant.
Yeah.
So things are starting to get real in the life of Lula.
Right. And I like the fact that, she barfed, as she puts it, but she doesn't clean it up. She just lets it lay there, and there's flies on it, and so of course David Lynch is like, so David Lynch is all over that with a camera.
It's so disgusting.
Yeah.
I also like how she says she tried to make it to the bathroom, but it was the wrong door.
Right.
Even where she tried to get to was still the wrong door.
But I'm like, you left it there? You didn't try to clean it up later?
Clean it up, yeah.
Right. It's like somebody could at least step in that.
And I just remember the first time I ever saw this movie.
Yeah. And
I was probably 16 the first time I saw this.
Right.
But I saw her say, I barfed. I'm like, oh, Lula's pregnant.
Yeah.
Right. I knew right at that moment that Lula's now pregnant.
Well, we couldn't get 100 sex scenes and then her not be pregnant at some point, right?
You also can't have a tragic love story that doesn't have some sort of,
Yeah.
This is nothing against parenthood, nothing against kids, but when you have these people that are someone's trying to murder one of them.
Right.
A baby is not what you need right now.
No. It's another complication on an already complex world. So yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So they're in this little hickburg of Big Tuna, Texas. And this is where they meet, as opposed to where this is where I think this is where Sailor meets Perdita, I guess. And they've got but this is where they meet Bobby Peru and Double O Spool and all the other sleazoids in this town.
Seriously, it's like going into the apartment. It's like going into Ben's apartment in Blue Velvet. All of these disgusting people.
Yeah, this is just really disturbing motel / trailer park. I don't know what it is.
It's not the Fat Trout, that's for damn sure.
Right. But apparently Bobby has, sees some potential with Sailor. More so after he goes and talks to Lula. Alone.
Talks to Lula.
Yeah, I was going to say, well, he starts talking to her. Basically, he gets his way inside by saying, "Hey, do you mind if I use your toilet?"
I gotta hit the head, I think.
Yeah, or something like that, yeah.
I'm not gonna piss in your hair. I need to piss in your toilet.
Yeah, exactly.
And he's
obviously very disgusting about it when he does it.
I feel like that scene where their robbery scene, their armed robbery scene.
Yeah, right.
Reminds me so much of the Hayseed Bank robbery scene in Raising Arizona.
Yes, it does.
Where you just have these two idiots who come and try and rob this nowheresville place.
Yeah.
Because they heard money was there.
Don't forget the Huggies.
Whatever cash you got. Not him robbing the convenience store.
Oh.
William Forsythe and John Goodman robbing the Hayseed Bank.
Okay.
Where they leave him behind and then they get the money with the dye pack in it.
It's been a while since I've seen that movie, yeah.
We're using code names, that part.
That's funny. But yeah, it is very reminiscent, with the stocking, the pantyhose masks. Yeah, exactly.
Son, you got a panty on your head.
Yeah, exactly. Which aren't really that great of a mask. I'm just putting it out there. Yeah.
They really aren't.
They just look like you have your face pressed up against a window.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And now that I've seen Nicolas Cage that way twice, that'd be how I recognize Nicolas Cage the most if I saw him on the street.
Yeah.
Like, oh, pantyhose, that's Nick Cage. That's Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, so God forbid Nicolas Cage in real life robs a bank. He better not be wearing pantyhose because everybody's going to still recognize him.
Seriously, everybody's going to know that that's him. He needs to wear just a bee cage over.
Yeah. So.
Who, by the way, we need to mention, was married to Patricia Arquette from Lost Highway.
Oh.
Yeah.
Nice connection.
They were married. Yeah, they were married for a while.
Yeah.
Figured I'd just mention a little bit of David Lynch romance trivia.
Yeah. So before the robbery goes, sideways, Bobby had confronted Lula in the room, and this is where we get that really creepy scene of him essentially trying to get her to say that she would F him. So essentially, it's this whole creepy intimidation thing.
Can we talk for a minute about Willem Dafoe's dental prosthetic for this movie?
Yes, we should, because it is a thing. Yes, we need to talk about that. It's like so it makes Willem Dafoe, who, let's face it, is not exactly the most handsomest guy in the world anyway.
I mean, he can be,
depending on the lighting, maybe, but and the suit he's wearing, perhaps.
Yeah, but he can go from 0 to creepy in 8 seconds.
Yeah,
I mean,
his body has physical range. Let's just put it that way.
That's an excellent diplomatic way of saying that.
Yes.
But
well, as someone who also has broad physical range, yes, I can say that.
You're like a nice guy. You're a nice looking guy. You got this Mel Gibson thing going on before we knew he was racist.
I was gonna say, I hope it's not after he was admittedly racist.
No, seriously. If you grew out a mullet, you'd be Mad Max.
I did have a mullet in the 90s. So.
Oh, I need photos of that, and I need them now.
No, you don't.
But yeah, you're like a classically good-looking guy with a nice smile, and you've got, it looks like you brush your teeth occasionally.
Yeah, every day. Go figure.
On a daily basis.
Yeah, on a daily basis. I'm kind of weird. I'm kind of weird like that, but yeah.
I would think that it would take a lot for you to be creepy. I'd have to really make you up to make you creepy.
Okay.
Whereas Willem Dafoe, you just put him in a leather jacket and shave his head like he is in Grand Budapest Hotel, and already he's a murderer.
Right.
Like, I think you need a little more work to be as creepy as he is. But Willem Dafoe.
But here, basically, they give him this ridiculously gummy grin.
It's gummy, but the teeth are also kind of rotten.
Yeah.
And it makes him, because like I said, Willem Dafoe is one of those guys that's like so ugly he's kind of cute.
Yeah.
In like an ugly dog kind of way, like a Steve Buscemi.
Right.
Buscemi
is a great example.
Like he's not like a good looking guy, but he's not a bad looking guy. But if he wants to go creepy, it doesn't take much.
No, it doesn't.
And
essentially, he kind of looks like he has an orange peel in his mouth, like in Godfather.
Kind of, yeah. If you remember the dental appliance that Matt Dillon wears in There's Something About Mary.
Okay.
Put that in a fish tank for 6 months. That's what Willem Dafoe is.
And don't
wearing.
Clean the fish tank.
And don't clean it. No, don't put any of those tablets in it. Don't clean the teeth. Yes. Just pull it out of the fish tank, throw it in Willem Dafoe's mouth, and throw him on screen.
Just like Gil said, don't clean the tank.
Yeah, exactly. Don't clean the tank.
Yep. So right there, that's a double Willem Dafoe reference for those paying attention.
See, you can't get enough of him.
No, exactly. He's everywhere. You can't escape him. So there was that scene. So when Bobby gets, they go to do the robbery at the feed store, and Bobby essentially gets really into it, kills the guards, and Sailor's like, "What the hell are you doing?"
Bobby is just way too into. He's in it for the murder. Like, even if he was robbing a bank, he would not be in it.
He's literally psychotic. Yes.
He's not in it for the money. He's in it to shoot people.
Yeah, exactly. So, and essentially, he also double crosses Sailor in the process. So this might have been part of his plan, because he gives Sailor an unloaded gun. It was filled with blanks or something. And so Sailor can't do anything about it. The cops show up, while Perdita is outside in the caddy or whatever, the convertible, waiting. So she's essentially the lookout. Mm-hmm. And the cops show up.
She's talking to a cop, and she hears a shot, and she's like, "I'm out. See ya."
Yeah, she's like, "Peace out." Peels right out. And the cop, at this moment, this is when Sailor comes through first, and the cop, says, "All right, get down to the ground. And then all of a sudden, Bobby comes out, and then this is where he trips. And as he's trying to stumble his way out the door, and he drops the gun, and the gun blows his head off.
Pretty gross, but you're sort of like, oh, thank God.
Yes. Yeah.
This world is so much better without Bobby Peru in it. Oh my God.
Pretty much, but obviously the damage has already been done. Sailor's busted once again because of really bad decisions.
Exactly. This time Sailor goes to jail for 5 years.
And 10 months. Yeah.
And 10 months, yes.
Yeah. But then he gets released once again, and this time he doesn't have any parole obligations for whatever reason.
No, he's served his time.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he probably was sentenced to 5 years, and he got 5 years.
So he did the full term, essentially.
He did his full term, and so
he didn't get parole. Yeah.
Right. He just did his time, and he's released. And so go ahead and stamp your form, Sonny, and stop wasting my time.
Nice.
The
one prophylactic used. Soiled. That's what it is.
Soiled. Yeah.
I forgot. Soiled. That's the adjective. Yeah. Soiled.
Yeah. Recidivism. That's a bonehead word, but that ain't me no more. Okay. So now that I'm done with all of my getting out of prison references.
Right.
He gets out of prison, and if we thought Marietta was crazy waiting 22 months for Sailor to get out of jail.
Right.
5 years of waiting for Sailor to get out of jail. She has lost her damn mind.
Right.
And Lula has sort of...
Now, this is obviously after the fact that she had taken lipstick, a stick of, and rubbed it around on her wrist, and you thought, okay, that's a little odd. And then it
goes all over her hands, all over her face.
That suddenly, it's everywhere. So she has essentially a completely red face, like you were saying, very devilish.
Yeah. And Charles, I don't know if you ever did any theater in school, but if you've ever gotten lipstick on your face, not your lips,
Right.
it does not come off easily.
Yeah. Well,
I think she was probably tinted reddish for like a week
yeah, probably.
after doing that. So Lula, on the other hand, is sort of, she's grown up a lot. She's a little bit more respectable. She's being what I assume is a good mom to Pace.
Yeah, we have no reason to think otherwise.
We have no reason to think otherwise. And I would think that, Lula is deep down in her heart, Lula's a sweet girl.
Right.
And I think she'd want Pace to have a childhood like she had. So she is going to go pick up Sailor at the train.
Because she's still in love with him after all these years. And
he's Pace's father. Pace has never met his father.
Right.
So
they she brings Pace along when she picks up Sailor.
Right.
And, go say hi to your daddy, Pace.
Now,
they shake hands.
They shake hands, and Sailor has a toy. Sailor has a toy farm. It's a little stuffed lion.
Right. As in Cowardly Lion? Yes.
How much did I wish that was a bunny? I mean, yes, lion is in Cowardly Lion. Right. I get the Wizard of Oz reference, but hindsight being 2020, I wish it would have been a bunny. That would have been freaking hilarious. Either that or the makers
it's all about the bunnies.
Either that or the makers of Con Air should. No, it's not about. Is it about the bunnies? No, it's not.
Is it?
The makers of Con Air should have made it a lion instead of a bunny, frankly.
Right.
So, although why couldn't you just put down the bunny? It's a fabulous, stupid line that everyone loves to say.
Right.
Oh, that movie's terrible. Speaking of mullets, please, Nicolas Cage.
Right. Well, that was his decade to shine. So, yeah. Let's just put it that way.
Talking about going off the rails, too, man.
So, you think, okay, the family's all together now. Everything's going to be hunky-dory, right? Everything's going to be good. No. Because
Lula starts to cry.
And she's a little upset. She's like, it's been obviously 6 years, so it's going to take a little adjusting. And after everything that happened, and Sailor's like, okay, this isn't going to work, so I'm out of here.
And you get the feeling that Lula has just sort of started to cry randomly, thinking about Sailor over the last 5 years, probably. Right.
Everything that happened.
I don't think this is the first time Pace has seen this happen.
No. So Sailor essentially, he says goodbye to Pace, gives him some really lame, advice for life, and then he walks off.
Yeah, I don't think Sailor had a very good father figure in his life either.
No, pretty much. No, and Sailor was just like, look, he doesn't really know me. He hasn't known me. This is our first meeting. He can't be that attached to me.
He doesn't know me. He's not going to miss me if I go.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, he decides it's best if he leaves. So he leaves. Lula is crushed, and when he's walking down what appears to be just a busy, what should have been normally a busy street.
It looks like an Old West ghost town.
Right, pretty much. Like where are the cars in this town? Because this looks kind of like a pretty, widely used street.
It's like Meanwhile in the Disney backlot.
Yeah, pretty much. So, essentially the extras from West Side Story crawl out of the woodwork and start following him. And he basically, lays down some homophobic put-downs, which they don't take too kindly of.
No, they don't, because this was the 90s, and being gay was an insult.
Yeah, pretty much. Although, to be fair, at least Sailor apologized for calling them homosexuals.
I love that where he's on the ground.
Right, exactly. I would like to apologize to you, gentlemen, for calling you a homosexual.
That's so great.
The delivery on that just cracks me up. In the Elvis voice. In the Elvis voice.
In his Nicolas Cage Elvis voice.
The Nick Cage Elvis voice. It's hilarious. So, it's horrible what he did, but yeah, it's pretty funny. So, while he's lying there on the ground after they kick his ass, he gets a vision of Glinda the Good Witch. Although, obviously, for legal reasons, she's not called Glinda in this movie.
She's just the Good Witch. And she's
Good Witch.
Laura Palmer.
Yeah. There is a good witch and a bad witch. So she's
Only
the good
bad
witch.
witches are ugly.
Right.
Yeah,
And
she's a good witch. She comes down in the bubble and
right.
has this outfit.
And
It's beautiful.
and played to perfection by Lynch couldn't have got found any better actress than Sheryl Lee for this.
Sheryl Lee. Yep.
Because she's got that, that Laura Palmer great smile, just
That beautiful smile, that ethereal baby voice.
Right, exactly. And just,
Yep.
suits that part to perfection as far as I'm concerned.
And she basically tells Sailor, get your head out of your ass and go where you belong.
Yeah, exactly. This is where we get the don't turn away from love. And so he comes to, apologizes to, like I said, I apologize for calling you homosexuals. And he's like, Lula! Lula! And then runs off after her. And there's like a traffic jam there. So he doesn't just run between the cars. He runs on top of the cars
He runs on top. It's very everybody hurts moment where it's a traffic jam and he just runs on top of all the cars.
That's a great reference, by the way. Yes. I haven't thought about that in like 30 years. Yes, exactly. Exactly. So, and then he finally reaches their car, and then, it's all this big, build up moment for the climax, and then he lifts her up and then starts singing Love Me Tender to her as the end credits roll.
Oh.
And you're like, what is this ending? This is not a David Lynch ending.
It's so great. It's so sappy romantic ending. I love it. I love it.
Tender.
And that's all he needs to say to her. He's already told her what that means.
Right.
We, the audience, already know what that means.
Right.
And she's been waiting to hear that song ever since she found out.
Yeah.
That's what that is. And that's just, boy.
It's that definite tug on the heartstrings moment.
I'm trying to think, I don't think it's the best Elvis Presley love song, but it's up there. Up there.
It is up, and I wouldn't say it's the best one.
The best Elvis Presley love song is Can't Help Falling in Love. End of story.
Yes, I agree with that. That's what I was trying to think of. Yes, you're absolutely right.
Tell me if you think I'm wrong, but
right.
I don't think
Yeah. I can't help falling in love with you. Yeah.
And, anybody that covers that song does a great job.
Yeah.
Like,
right.
U2's cover of that is a fantastic cover.
Right.
So it's even the cover.
Bono really hits those falsetto notes with that one.
Yeah. Oh, so great.
Yeah.
But I like Love Me too. Love Me's a great song.
Love Me's a great song. Yep. Yeah. But Love Me Tender is great. Perfect for this scene.
It's perfect for the scene, and when he starts singing to her, that's him asking her to marry him.
Yeah, and I know Nick Cage did this in a studio, but he did a really good job with it.
I'm telling you, Charles, the reason to buy this soundtrack is Nicolas singing his Elvis songs.
Yeah.
Buy an entire record of Nicolas Cage singing Elvis love songs.
Yeah, you can say what you want about Nicolas Cage as an actor, and I will totally agree with you 100% no matter what is said, but he does a very good job singing Love Me Tender here. He actually does a good job singing Love Me earlier in the film.
When somebody is going to imitate Elvis, it might as well be Nick Cage.
Right.
Good job.
He nails it.
Great.
He nails it.
Totally.
He gets the spirit, he gets the tone, and he does it without being a cheesy impression.
No, it's not a cheesy impression.
It's natural.
It's a loving Elvis. Do you remember the Saturday Night Live sketch, Tiny Elvis?
Yeah, I dimly do, yeah.
Where Nicolas Cage is Elvis, but he's only like 8 inches tall.
That's right, yeah. That's right. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that was a while back too. Boy. Well, I'm going down memory lane tonight. This is good.
Yeah.
So that's essentially the movie, everybody. Do you have a rating for this? Rating for this movie? I guess it's pretty high, right?
Yeah, this is it. Oh, and we also need to I also need to remind everybody, and this is a little strange.
Okay.
After he divorced Patricia Arquette, Nicolas Cage married Lisa Marie Presley.
Right. I forgot about that. I think I blocked that out of my memory. You're right. Which is the ultimate Elvis fanboy move.
The ultimate Elvis fanboy move, but I don't know if I'd want to be with somebody that imitates my dad that well, but that's just me.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like he probably does it all the time.
No, probably not, but it'd be like,
I would hope not.
Like, imagine you're just sitting at home flipping through cable while It Hard is on. You're like, oh, hey, look, it's my bunny. Oh, God, no,
Yes,
no, I don't
right.
want to do
Yes.
this. Yeah, it is kind of the ultimate
Fanboy move.
fanboy move. Yeah, for sure.
It's kind of like David Tennant marrying Georgia Moffat, the daughter of Peter Davison.
A little bit, yeah.
It's that kind of like ultimate fanboy move, but also kind of creepy on the side. Yes.
It's like, okay, so my dad's the doctor. Why don't I just marry a doctor?
Yeah, exactly. And by the way, she played the doctor's daughter, so it's even worse because essentially she's, her husband is her father, quote unquote.
And her father.
And her father is her father.
Yeah, her father. Yeah, it's very.
Yeah.
It's like this weird, geeky time travel version of like some debutante girl whose dad is a physician who then has to marry a physician.
Yeah.
It's like, my father was doctor. My father was Doctor Who. I should also marry Doctor Who.
It's kind of like the Futurama episode where Fry has sex with his grandmother. It becomes his own grandfather.
He did do the nasty and the pasty.
Right.
But yeah, I was thinking about her the other day when I was watching Doctor Who.
Yeah.
And I was thinking like, wow, yeah, she just has never known life that doesn't have Doctor Who in her house. Like,
no. Nope. Kind of like me. No, just kidding.
Well,
there were those first 14 years before I started watching Doctor Who, but yeah.
But it's not like your mom was Leela 1 and you married Leela 2.
No.
That's all I'm saying.
Yes. No. Not anywhere near that. No.
Yeah. No. I think my rating for this one's probably let's see. What should I give this a rating of? This is 8 out of 10 lost hairbrushes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And I just, mostly because I like this love story for, so help me.
Right.
I like this love story. I love Laura Dern. And everybody, and I love Diane Ladd in this movie. Diane Ladd is batshit crazy in this movie. But I love her.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't feel as strongly about this one as you do, but I don't hate it either. It's not, as far as the David Lynch films, it's
no Blue Velvet.
It's no Blue Velvet, no, or Mulholland Drive. So I'm going to give this one 7 out of 10 photos melted with ice cubes.
Oh, that's a good one.
I'm melting. Obviously, another direct Wizard of Oz homage.
Yeah, you throw your drink in a picture of your mom,
yes.
and also she's a witch. Yeah, she's just a witch.
If she weighs the same as a duck, she's made of wood, and therefore a witch.
Who are you that's so wise in the ways of science, Charles?
That's great. So it was either that or I was going to go with nibbled candy necklaces if you had taken that one.
Oh, the nibbled candy necklace. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Because Sailor gives Lula a candy necklace and he's like, don't eat it. Save it for when if you really need to, you can eat it later. But, and then, when Sailor gets busted that second time,
that's when she eats
it. Yeah.
Yeah. Candy necklaces, by the way, are delicious.
Right.
And they're not just for children. They're delicious.
Okay. I don't think I've ever eaten a candy necklace.
Oh my God.
I've seen them. I've seen them, but I haven't eaten one.
Do you like Smarties?
Yeah, or Sweet Tarts. Yeah.
They're essentially Smarties.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I get it. I get the premise. I mean, I've had Smarties, but I just never had them on a necklace before.
Oh, well, you need to just wear one, just eat it whenever you feel like it.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, all you have is a disgusting, half wet, half sugary
sticking to your neck.
And you've never been so sad.
Nice. All right, so we didn't get a Ghostwood mail this time, sadly, again. So, guys, we want to hear from you. Write in.
I know you're listening.
I've seen the downloads. Yeah, exactly. And,
I see Poland. I know you're listening to us, Poland.
Right? Or shout out to every Sweden or all the other countries that
all over the world. Yes.
Yeah, because
Who
you know
are
the
listening to
global
our
phenomenon that is Ghostwood, the Twin Peaks podcast.
Yeah. Let us know. Tell me, what is your favorite Elvis love song?
Right. Or, your favorite David Lynch movie. We've been talking David Lynch movies.
Or I'll get Charles to post a picture of himself with a mullet. Write us in, talk about that.
You can try.
Hey, if I posted that stupid picture of me with Harriet's hair,
yeah,
you can post a mullet photo.
Well, that was your mistake, not mine.
Oh, come on, Charles. Quid pro quo, Clarice.
Nice. Okay. I see how it is. All right. So please write to us at Ghostwood Podcast at. All right, Nez, what are you crinkling now? I'm trying to do the mail.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I had to. Something was on the couch in the cat's way. I had to pick it up.
Okay. All right. I'm just teasing you. All right. So, ghostwoodpodcast@gmail.com. That's ghostwoodpodcast@gmail.com. Would love to hear from you. The Gmail. Or you can find us on Twitter at Ghostwoodcast on Twitter. Or Ghostwood Twin Peaks Podcast on the Facebooks. So like and follow us there. Tell your friends about us. Share us. We definitely would obviously love to keep growing the podcast. We thank you to everyone who does already, but obviously we like more, because we're greedy like that. Mm-hmm. So let people know. And if you get the chance and if you enjoy what we do, also, hey, please go to Apple Podcasts and rate and review us.
Yeah, let us,
That helps people find us, believe it or not, because their crazy algorithm thing.
Exactly. And we just mostly want to know other Twin Peaks nerds.
Yeah.
Or other David Lynch nerds just like us.
Exactly. And if you follow us on Twitter or Facebook, we'll follow you back because we're cool like that. All right. So Zan, where can they reach you?
Twitter and Instagram is Udinax19. Facebook is Xan Sprouse. If you want to hear me get off subject even more, people can listen to you and me on Drunk Cinema. And if they want to hear me try and sound like I know something about what I'm talking about movies, you can listen to me.
Which is always
on Gold Standard, the Twin Peaks podcast, or not Gold Standard, the Twin Peaks podcast. Gold Standard, the Oscars podcast. This is Ghostwood, the Twin Peaks podcast. Too many G's in my podcast.
Yeah, are you sure?
Yeah.
Although I'm gonna talk to Nick, and we're gonna see if we can get him to change that to Gold Standard, the Twin Peaks podcast.
Well, if you ask me, Ghostwood is the gold standard of Twin Peaks podcast.
Oh, nice.
See?
Anyway, that deserves
that's why
this.
I'm thinking that. Thank you.
Well played.
Thank you very much.
All right. So everybody, if you want to hear me or find me on the internets, check me out at Charles Skaggs on Instagram, at Charles Skaggs on Twitter, or Facebook, Charles Skaggs in Hilliard, Ohio, or my blog of geeky things. Wait for it.
Damn good coffee. And hot.
Damn good coffee and hot. We're talking about all the stuff we talk about here on Ghostwood, including, Twin Peaks stuff, David Lynch stuff, comic book sci-fi news. I just posted the first 7 actors that have been revealed for Neil Gaiman's The Sandman. That's going to be on Netflix.
Oh, yeah, I saw that post.
Yeah, including the casting of Dream, which I had originally reported back in September because yours truly knows the score, and they confirmed it today, officially. So, So just putting that out there. So you want to check me out on that. Also, news of my other podcasts for Southgate Media, including the aforementioned Drunk Cinema that I do with Zan, where we just finished talking the adventures of Buckaroo Banzai across the 8th dimension. Had a great time with that. Zan took a little bit of a spill, but she survived it, and she's still here with us, thankfully. And then coming up next on our 5th episode, we're going to be discussing, which has now become a tribute, sadly, we're going to be discussing Young Frankenstein, a.k.a. Young Frankenstein, in tribute, of course, now to the late Cloris Leachman.
The late great Cloris Leachman,
as
yes.
Frau Blücher. Blücher. No. I just love Marty Feldman when he does it. He's just all like, Blücher.
Yeah. Blücher. And then he smiles. He's so proud of himself.
Yeah, he's just like, he's so smug. So yeah, we're going to be, obviously talking about her passing, sadly, but we're going to have a lot of fun talking Young Frankenstein because, like Xan said, this is like one of the top 2 all-time comedy classics.
Depending on the day you ask me,
Yeah.
I will tell you that the greatest American comedy film
Right.
is either this or Airplane.
Okay. I was wondering what the other one was. I was considering Airplane, but
it depends on the day you ask me.
Right.
What I say.
That's fair. That's fair. Just depending on your mood. Okay. So, in addition to Drunk Cinema, there's Next Stop Everywhere, the Doctor Who podcast, where Xan just joined us this past week to talk Resurrection of the Daleks, and we had a good time with that. And she's certainly welcome to come back, and we've got her on the schedule already to come back, so stay tuned for that. But coming up on that, we're going to be talking for the next 4 episodes. We're going to be discussing Trial of a Time Lord, the final 4 stories of Colin Baker's era.
Yep.
And we've got Rachel Friend from Xan, one of Xan's partners on Gold Standard, the
Oscars podcast.
Twin Peaks podcast.
It's sadly never going to be a sort of Twin Peaks podcast because we're never, ever, ever going to talk about a Best Picture that was directed by David Lynch. We're going to talk about a couple.
We could always do. Could we do Fire Walk with Me as a Patreon thing?
Yeah, sure. You want to donate, Charles?
Maybe I will.
Maybe you should.
Maybe I will.
David Lynch has directed 2 movies that have been up for Best Picture, and neither one.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, go figure. But he did get, that honorary Oscar.
He did. Thank you very much.
Yeah, because he needed it. He deserved it. And then there's also, the Phantom Zone podcast, where DJ Nick, Jesse Jackson, and I, we're talking WandaVision right now, which I'm trying to get Xan to watch because it has, especially after episode 3, serious Twilight Zone overtones.
That might sell me. Yeah,
I would definitely recommend it. There's definitely a Bill Mumy Twilight Zone episode thing going on here, and probably going to get even more weirder in that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Xan's giving me homework to read after this podcast, so I've got a whole list of things I got to check out.
I'm putting things in the chat, so
yeah, I appreciate that. And then, last but certainly not least, Titan Talk, the Titans podcast, where obviously we talk Titans and Doom Patrol, but they're on hiatus right now, but they'll be coming hopefully to HBO Max later this year for season 3 on both shows. And we're already getting some casting news. They cast Barbara Gordon, and they just recently cast Tim Drake for Titans season 3. Yeah, they just revealed that today. So we may have some news to talk about here shortly.
Got a lot to talk about, Sharon.
Remind everybody that we're still out there. So check that out as well. I definitely appreciate it. And then come on back for episode 92. The big question, though, what are we going to talk about next time on Ghostwood?
Lost Highway.
I was going to ask you if we're going to do more movies, that leaves like 2, right? There's Lost Highway and Inland Empire.
And unfortunately, we can't do Inland Empire.
Right, because it hasn't been released. Yeah.
It hasn't been released.
Yeah.
Charles likes to remind everybody that I fell asleep in it at 3 a.m.
I didn't even say it this time. You brought it up.
Well, I figured you were close.
No. Well, if it bothers you that much, I won't do it again.
It was 3 a.m. and I don't drink caffeine, so,
Yeah. Okay.
I just would like to remind everyone I was not the guy snoring in the theater.
Yeah.
Well, I just dozed off for about 15 minutes.
Well, I would like to remind everybody I was not that guy either.
No, you didn't fall asleep at all.
No, I didn't. I stayed awake, and surprisingly, I stayed awake for the whole thing, even after having a beer. Even after having a beer to relax me.
It's a fantastic movie. It just was late at night. It was really late.
I think it was just adrenaline because I had never seen this movie before. That's what kept me up.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to find out what happened.
And you still never did.
Well, yeah, because it's David Lynch, but yeah.
It's one of the least linear David Lynch movies I've ever seen.
Yes.
So
yeah.
Let's talk some Beretta.
Yeah, let's talk Lost Highway.
Let's talk Lost Highway.
So we got Bill Pullman and let's see, who else is in this movie? Oh,
Patricia
Arquette. Robert Loggia. Yeah, the infamous Robert Loggia scene that Xan loves so much.
The greatest scene of Robert Loggia on film in the history of Robert Loggia.
I'll probably predict that we will spend at least a half an hour dissecting that entire sequence.
Oh, and I'm going to recite the entire thing too.
Yeah, there you go. Because I know you're a huge fan of that.
The infamous Robert Blake is in this. This is the best thing he ever did. We've got Gary Busey Balthazar Getty.
Right.
You
got
Natasha
Red,
Gregson
yeah.
Wagner. So we got a lot of people in this one.
Yeah, so this should be a lot to talk about.
And Richard Pryor. Richard Pryor.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to have fun watching that again. All right. Because that one I do have on my DVR, so I got that available.
Yeah, so that's a good one.
So as we kind of bring our David Lynch film series to a close, at long last, at least until Criterion releases some of these on whenever that happens.
And we can discuss extra features.
Yeah, right, exactly. All right. So everybody, thank you so much for listening. And then come on back next time, like we were just talking about, episode 92, we're going to talk Lost Highway. So break out the Hank Williams, because that's where the title comes from. Lost Highway.
So the title comes from, but you need to break out the David Bowie for this one.
Well, there's that too, yeah.
Yeah.
So it should be a pretty solid discussion once again. And we'll see you next time right here, Ghostwood, the Twin Peaks podcast. Goodbye, everybody.